We will talk about one of the more interesting segments on a WWE pay-per-view in a long
Mm-hmm.
time, as
Oh yeah.
our international ambassador John Cena would appear on this show and seeming to make a pitch for all of your local dollars to go towards securing WrestleMania for London, England.
Was it so much of a pitch, or was
I
it
think
more
it
of an
was as much
announcement?
as I mean, we will. Do you want to talk a bit about that segment right now? It was John
Sure.
Cena appearing and essentially stating, you fans have been underserved. You deserve WrestleMania. And I cannot fathom doing this segment in such a public fashion. And that this is not something that is in the in the planning stages, if not outright planned for them, because I think this would be such a letdown to this country at this point to not have a WrestleMania set up for them. But I think one of the keys, though, is the fact that for these, especially as Nick Khan has stated, for these big shows, like they want big fees from municipalities to come and to do them. And they did get one in Cardiff for last September's show. They did not get one for this one for Money in the Bank. And I would think for a giant WrestleMania event and what it means for the home market is like that would certainly be something that they want for the added expense of going all the way to the UK and changing up their, broadcast times in North America and such, that they would want a major subsidy for that is what I would assume that they would want to make that, because you can take WrestleMania wherever you want. It's going to be very profitable for them. So if you're going to go out of your way to another country, much less continent, I think they want to be heavily compensated for that.
So, do you believe this was a campaign for something that has not been agreed upon yet?
It's really hard to like the earliest this could be is 2025. We don't have a Mania for the year after Philadelphia, at least announced publicly at this point. Could it be? Yes. It's not as though they came out and had John Cena announce that WrestleMania is coming here in 2025, which they very well could have done. But I cannot fathom that this is not something that they felt confident enough that would, I think, like this. I just cannot imagine that this is not something like really, really serious at this point, that they felt confident enough to dangle it while also like healing Australia, who comes out of this. Like, you're not getting a WrestleMania.
Well, I mean, I didn't know about much of a Australian sort of England rivalry, but they really could have named any country. It could have been a Canadian going out there. If it wasn't going to be in London, England, then they would have gotten booed anyway. I mean, it's very interesting, and I think much of the discourse coming out of this is how much of this particular moment, this particular scene involving John Cena being the ambassador to the UK, has to do with the success of All In.
I think like that's the very next logical step is that for WrestleMania to go to London, wouldn't Wembley Stadium be the obvious choice? And regardless of venue, shattering that $8.5 million gate that All In currently stands at, like 8.3 is what it is at. And you would certainly, I would say, I don't think that would be the driving reason that you would do it, but it is if England is already on your radar and you're looking at the potential of getting a giant subsidy for going there, and on top of it, we can eliminate this new gate record that they have in the UK. Well, that's gravy for all of this, and reestablishes us as the dominant player in the market, while AEW is going to get some tremendous coverage this summer because of this event and the lead up to it at Wembley.
So even without the subsidy, you don't think that they would just go there on their own?
I can't throw it out completely, but I think that, like Nick Khan has stated as such, like they want all of their premium live events to eventually be able to be subsidized, to be getting fees for all of these. And I think WrestleMania would lead the way. There are plenty of places that would probably pay for a WrestleMania, think of some of these countries out there and what they are willing to pay for major concerts, major races, major sporting events. And WrestleMania is now, it's not the Super Bowl, but it is something of great value to a lot of these different places, that if you're looking at international options, like in Australia, like they had that pay-per-view a few years ago, 2018, and they got like money for that.
I mean, I only suggest like the whole subsidy portion of the conversation is one I hadn't really been thinking about up until this point, because I I almost feel like because of this scene, regardless of whether or not they're getting paid to do it, this feels like as much of an announcement that we're going to have WrestleMania in London as anything else.
Well,
I
for all we know, they could have it like locked up at this point. Because again, I could not fathom you doing this when there's no guarantee yet that you're just dangling this out there
Mhm.
for such a degree.
And would a scene like this make much difference to the government? I suppose. Like, how would the government even gauge interest by
Well,
looking at
again,
this?
like I'm just supposing here of the fact that you come here and you tease this, and it's like this groundswell of fans like demanding this WrestleMania, that it's suddenly, look at this rabid audience going crazy. And I mean, it's not like we're saying, hey, it's coming. We're definitely doing this, but this would be, if you don't have a deal closed, this would be a hell of a persuader if you are WWE. And Nick Khan was also seen in the front row, sitting there during the show as well. So he was over there for this event. So I'm sure, England is very, very big on their radar. And I think this segment, in some ways, it was the most interesting thing on the show because of what it means. And we'll talk about the segment itself and the involvement of Grayson Waller.